Welcome to Mastermind Conversations, a Pro Insights podcast, powered by Geek in New York, where we don't just talk, we geek it. We break down complex topics, research from trusted sources, and bring your expert insights, real-life stories, and actionable tips, all in a clear and engaging way. So get ready, it's time to geek it with Mastermind Conversations.
Welcome back, everybody. Ready to dive into part 2 of how to make those relationships flourish.
Especially when things get kind of bumpy.
Exactly. Last time we were exploring how understanding your partner's childhood, like those early influences,
can have such a huge impact.
Huge impact on your dynamic today.
Absolutely.
So this time, we're going even deeper into how couples communicate, how they navigate disagreements.
That's where the real magic happens, you know?
The real magic, the make it or break it.
It really is.
And you know what? Even with the best of intentions, communication can totally go sideways.
Oh, yeah.
What is it about those misunderstandings, even when both people are trying? What's going on there?
Well, I think one of the biggest traps we fall into is this illusion of shared language.
Ooh, illusion of shared language.
Yeah, couples often assume they understand each other perfectly.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But their individual languages, which are really shaped by their family dynamics,
interesting,
can lead to these massive misinterpretations and so much frustration.
So it's like they're speaking different dialects of the same language.
Exactly. Imagine one partner comes from a family where conflict, you just went right at it.
You had it out, yeah.
You know, maybe even got a little heated.
Right.
But then the other partner, their family, they kind of swept things under the rug.
Avoided it at all costs.
Exactly. And now they're trying to deal with a conflict together.
Now that's a recipe for disaster.
Right. One's trying to have this like serious talk.
Deep, meaningful conversation.
And the other one is dodging, trying to lighten the mood, change the subject.
It's like ships passing in the night.
Totally.
They're using the same words, but with completely different meanings behind them.
And, you know, neither one is wrong.
Right.
They've just learned different ways of communicating.
It's about recognizing those passions.
Yeah, and once you see it,
oh, so much becomes clear.
It can really shift things.
Like a light bulb moment.
It is.
You know, and speaking of patterns, I want to unpack this idea of denial for a second.
Yeah, denial.
We've all been there, right?
Absolutely. It's part of being human.
But in a relationship, it can really get in the way.
Oh, it can be a major roadblock.
How does that manifest? How does denial show up in couples?
Well, sometimes it's pretty blatant, like outright refusing to acknowledge a partner's concerns.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
But often it's more subtle, like minimizing problems.
Yeah.
Or clinging to those rose-colored memories.
Like the good old days.
Right, instead of facing the reality of what's happening now.
It's like they're holding onto that highlight reel.
Oh, I like that.
Even when the current situation is a total blooper.
Totally.
You know, and the longer we stay in denial, the harder it becomes to actually solve anything.
You're absolutely right. You can't fix what you don't acknowledge.
And we see this all the time at Resilient Couples Coaching, right?
All the time.
Can you give us an example?
Sure. We worked with this woman who was convinced her partner would change.
Oh.
Because she was so focused on how loving he was at the beginning.
In the honeymoon phase.
Right, but she was in total denial about his current behavior.
She was holding on to a ghost of the past.
Exactly. Not seeing the real person standing right there in front of her.
Heartbreaking.
It is.
And, you know, it reminds me of this idea of the difference between romantic love and the power struggle.
Interesting.
They seem like total opposites, but I feel like there's a connection.
You know, you're onto something there.
Okay.
It's amazing how easily couples can slip from romantic love into this power struggle.
Without even realizing
it.
So wait, are you saying romantic love and fighting are basically the same thing?
Not exactly the same, but they are both driven by that core need to feel whole and complete.
To feel whole.
Yeah, think about it. In that early romantic love, we often believe our partner holds the key to our happiness.
They complete us.
Right, like they can make us feel whole.
I'm starting to see where you're going with this.
Now, in the power struggle, that core belief hasn't changed, but now we see our partner as withholding that love.
Withholding the key?
Withholding that wholeness, yeah, and that's when the tactics change.
Okay, so instead of those romantic gestures,
right,
we start trying to force that love out.
It becomes this battle for control, a struggle for validation.
So we resort to, like, hurting our partner, withdrawing emotionally,
even denying them pleasure,
trying to get that loving response.
Exactly.
It's like a self-sabotaging cycle.
It can feel that way.
You're stuck in the same game, but the rules have changed.
Right, and no one's winning.
But the good news is once you see those patterns, you can start to change the game.
Absolutely.
So how do we break free from that power struggle? How do we create a more conscious, loving dynamic?
That's where things get really interesting.
All right.
At Resilient Couples Coaching, we work with couples on developing something called caring days.
Caring days, what is that?
It's really simple but powerful.
Okay.
Caring days are about choosing to engage in these positive behaviors.
Positive behaviors.
Yeah, things that reconnect you with your partner, regardless of how you're feeling in the moment.
So even if you're not feeling it,
Even if you don't feel like that,
you choose to show love.
you choose to show love.
Wow, that's challenging.
It can be, but the results are amazing.
It's putting action before feeling.
Exactly, because actions can shape feeling just as much as feelings can shape actions.
You're retraining your brain to see your partner in a more positive light,
It's like rewiring those neural pathways.
creating that loving connection again.
Exactly.
Do you have a concrete example?
Absolutely. We worked with this couple where the husband was asked to make a list
A list
of things he knew would please his wife.
things that made her happy,
Yeah, and then he committed to doing a certain number of those things every day, no matter what.
no matter what.
No matter what, like bringing her tea in the morning,
Sweet.
complimenting her outfit, giving her a back rub.
Just small gestures.
Small gestures, but they make a huge difference.
It's shifting from, what have you done for me lately?
Right.
To, what can I do to make you feel loved today?
That's exactly it.
And it reminds me of something else we've been talking about.
Okay.
How we express anger. Because that's another area where those childhood patterns really show up.
Oh, absolutely.
It's such a powerful emotion.
And it can manifest in so many different ways.
We all have our own anger style.
Right. Some people explode, some withdraw, some become passive aggressive.
A whole spectrum.
A whole spectrum.
But no matter how it's expressed,
It can be damaging if it's not addressed.
damaging to the relationship.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do we learn to express anger in a way that doesn't push our partner away?
Great question. And one technique we teach at Resilient Couples Coaching is called the container transaction.
Container transaction. That sounds interesting.
It's about creating this safe space where those intense emotions can be expressed.
Like a pressure valve.
Yeah, like a pressure valve, where those emotions can be released in a controlled way.
So one partner is like holding the container for the other's anger.
Exactly. And it's not about agreeing with their perspective or condoning hurtful behavior.
Just holding space.
Holding space for them to feel heard.
Feel validated.
Validated, even if you don't agree with them.
I can see how that would be so helpful for both people.
It really can be.
You know, the person expressing their anger feels heard.
Right.
And the listener learns to be more supportive.
It's a win-win.
It creates that safety to be vulnerable and authentic.
Exactly.
Now, we've been talking a lot about communication and conflict resolution,
Which are crucial.
but those aren't the only ingredients for a happy relationship.
Yeah, there's more to it.
Oh, tell me more.
At Resilient Couples Coaching, we actually talk about 7 key principles for a happy marriage
7 principles.
based on years of research and experience.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
Well, we've touched on conflict resolution today.
Right?
But these other principles delve into things like nurturing fondness and admiration,
Okay.
fostering shared meaning,
Interesting.
and really understanding each other's emotional needs.
They're all connected.
All interconnected, all equally important for creating a thriving relationship.
You've definitely piqued my curiosity. Let's dive into those other principles next time.
Let's do it. It's like they're building blocks for a strong and fulfilling partnership.
Gotcha.
Think of it this way. You can be amazing at resolving conflicts.
Right.
But if you're not also nurturing that fondness and admiration
Yeah.
or creating that shared meaning,
That sense of
the
birth.
relationship is going to feel a bit empty.
Yeah, it's like building a house.
Yeah.
You need a strong foundation to weather the storms, right?
Absolutely.
But you also need those beautiful walls and that cozy roof.
Right.
All the little details that make it a home.
Exactly. It's about creating a space where you both feel loved, respected, and seen for who you are.
And that makes me think of one of the most interesting patterns I've heard about
Oh, yeah.
from Resilient Couples Coaching. It's that happy couples tend to have this really solid foundation of friendship.
It's so true.
So it's not just about the romance, the sparks.
Right.
It's about having a genuine friendship at the core.
Absolutely. They genuinely enjoy spending time together.
They make each other laugh.
They share interests. They have that deep respect.
You know, it makes sense when you think about it.
Yeah.
When you feel connected and supported like that.
Absolutely.
It's so much easier to handle those disagreements, those inevitable life curveballs.
It's like having this built-in support system.
You know, you can always count on each other.
Even when you don't agree on everything.
Friendship is key.
It really is.
What else sets those successful couples apart? What are some of their secrets?
Well, they're also really good at something we call turning towards
Turning towards?
each other's bids for connection.
Okay, break that down for me.
These bids can be big or small, you know, like asking for help, sharing a joke.
Or even just making eye contact across the room
Exactly. It's like saying, I see you, I'm here for you.
without even saying a word.
Right. And those little moments actually have huge impact on your overall connection.
It's like making deposits in the emotional bank account.
I love that. The more deposits you make, the richer the connection.
Exactly. And on the flip side,
Yeah.
when those bids are ignored or dismissed,
Uh-oh.
It creates distance over time.
Definitely.
So we've got friendship turning towards those bids for connection. What else?
Another key ingredient is a shared sense of meaning.
Shared meaning.
This could be anything from shared values,
Yeah.
common goals, maybe a hobby you both love.
Or even just a shared sense of humor.
Exactly, like you're both rowing the boat in the same direction.
Working together towards something that matters.
It strengthens the bond, helps you weather those inevitable storms.
So it's not about agreeing on everything,
Right.
but finding that common ground.
That shared purpose.
Now, we've been talking about these couples who seem to have it all figured out.
Yeah,
But what about the rest of us? You know, we're human, we make mistakes.
of course.
How do we get back on track when things go off the rails?
That's a great question. And, even the happiest couples, they have their disagreements.
They have their fights.
They have their conflicts.
So what's their secret? How do they bounce back?
What sets them apart is their ability to repair after a conflict.
So repair is key.
Repair is crucial.
Okay, so what does effective repair look like?
Well, it's about being able to apologize sincerely.
Yeah.
Taking responsibility for your part in the conflict.
Not blaming the other person.
Right. And offering genuine forgiveness.
So it's not about pretending it didn't happen.
No, it's about acknowledging the hurt and working through it together.
It takes time.
It does. Sometimes you need time to cool down.
Process what happened.
Come back with a fresh perspective.
Let the dust settle before you try to clean up the mess.
Exactly. And when you approach it that way, it's
Yeah.
so much easier to rebuild trust and move forward.
Now, we've covered a lot of ground today.
We have
Communication, friendship, shared meaning, repair. It's a lot.
a lot to think about.
But it all boils down to these key principles that can make a world of difference.
That's right.
Is there one piece of advice you find yourself giving couples over and over again?
One of the most important things we emphasize is taking ownership of your own happiness.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It's so easy to fall into that trap of expecting our partner to make us happy.
Yeah, like it's their job.
But ultimately, your happiness is your responsibility.
It's an inside job.
Exactly.
So it's about shifting from that outside-in perspective
Yeah.
to an inside-out perspective.
You got it. When you focus on your own growth,
Yeah,
on becoming the best version of yourself,
you naturally bring more to the relationship.
you do. It's like that saying, you can't pour from an empty cup.
Right, if you're not taking care of
You
yourself.
have nothing to give.
So how do we apply that in a relationship? How do we balance taking care of ourselves with nurturing the partnership?
It's about finding that sweet spot
Yeah.
where you're both pursuing your passions
Yeah.
while also making time for each other and the relationship.
So it's not about becoming self-absorbed.
No, it's about recognizing that a healthy relationship is made up of two whole individuals.
Two whole people.
And when both partners are committed to growth,
It creates that mutual support.
encouragement, like you're both climbing your own mountains,
But you're cheering each other on,
celebrating those victories.
big and small.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up this part, I want to circle back to something we talked about in part 1.
Okay.
The impact of those early childhood experiences.
Right.
Because it's clear those patterns run deep,
They do.
and sometimes they create real roadblocks.
Oh, absolutely.
Those early experiences shape our beliefs about love and how relationships work.
They're the foundation.
So how do we break free from those patterns that no longer serve us? How do we rewrite the old scripts?
Well, one of the most powerful tools we use is called imago dialogue.
Imago dialogue, tell me more.
It's a structured communication process that helps couples understand and work through those unconscious patterns.
So it's like shining a light on those blind spots.
Exactly. Those automatic reactions we might not even be aware of.
It's not about blaming our partner.
Right.
It's about recognizing they might be reflecting something back to us that we need to address within ourselves.
You've got it. And by engaging in this dialogue,
Yeah.
we start to see those patterns, understand where they come from.
And then choose to respond differently.
It's about moving from reactivity to conscious choice,
Not just repeating those old patterns.
creating new, more loving ways of interaction,
We're taking responsibility for our own healing.
and for the impact our past has on our present relationships.
This has been such a fascinating conversation.
It has.
We've covered so much: communication, friendship, meaning, repair, personal growth, imago dialogue.
It's a lot,
I know, my head is spinning.
but I hope it's been helpful.
It's been incredible. What's one key takeaway you would leave our listeners with today?
I would say this. Remember that love is a verb.
Love is a verb.
It's not just a feeling. It's a choice we make every day to show up for our partners,
To show up.
to understand them, support them, nurture that connection.
Love is a verb. It's not passive, it's active.
That's right.
It's something we can practice every day.
And it's in those daily choices, those small acts of kindness,
Those moments of connection.
that we build a love that lasts.
It's a reminder that we have so much more control than we realize.
We do.
It's not about finding the perfect partner.
No.
It's about becoming the best partners we can be.
Well said.
And that brings us to the end of part 2 of this deep dive into stronger relationships,
Brought to you by Resilient Couples Coaching.
strengthening and deepening love with CBT and mindfulness.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and tools to take your own relationships to the next level.
And remember, the journey to lasting love, it's an ongoing adventure.
It is full of twists and turns,
Ups and downs.
but with the right tools and that commitment to growth,
You can navigate those challenges.
and create a love story that's truly your own.
We'll be back next time for part 3,
Looking forward to it.
where we'll explore even more fascinating insights into the world of relationships.
Can't wait.
Until then, may your love life be filled with joy, connection, and endless possibilities.
Cheers to that.
You know, it's amazing how much we've already talked about,
Yeah,
and we've only just scratched the surface of relationships.
there's so much to explore.
So much. It's
Really?
fascinating. It really is. And from your experience at Resilient Couple Coaching,
Yeah.
what are some of the biggest misconceptions people have about love and relationships?
That's a good question.
What do people get wrong?
I think one of the biggest ones is that love should be easy.
Oh, yeah,
That if you're with the right person, it should all just flow effortlessly.
the fairy tale myth.
Exactly, the fairy tale.
But in reality, relationships take work.
They do. Every relationship, even the most fulfilling ones,
Yeah.
will have challenges, moments of friction.
It's how you navigate those challenges together.
That's what matters. That's what makes the difference.
It's about growing and evolving together.
Absolutely.
You know, and speaking of navigating challenges,
Yeah.
I think a lot of people struggle with those tough conversations,
Oh, yeah.
how to bring up difficult topics with their partner.
It's a crucial skill.
It is. Do you have any tips for how to have those conversations in a way that's constructive and respectful?
Well, I think one of the most important things is choosing the right time and place.
Don't try to have a serious conversation when you're both exhausted.
Exactly. Create that space where you can both be fully present and engaged.
Be in the right headspace,
And remember to approach it with empathy and curiosity,
not blame.
not aim or judgment. Yeah.
It's about understanding your partner's perspective,
Even if you don't agree with it.
even if you don't agree.
And when you're listening, really listen. Try to hear what they're saying.
Not just waiting for your turn to talk.
Exactly. Active listening, putting yourself in their shoes.
And it's okay to take breaks.
Absolutely. If things get too heated,
Sometimes you need to cool down.
come back with a fresh perspective.
Step away, regroup.
Exactly.
And it's important to apologize if you need to.
Absolutely. Taking responsibility for your actions is so important for building trust.
It shows you care.
It does.
This has been such an incredible conversation.
It has.
I've learned so much, and I'm sure our listeners have too.
I hope so.
As we wrap up, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience? Any final words of wisdom?
You know, I would say this. Remember that love is a journey, not a destination.
I love that. It's not about reaching some perfect state of bliss.
It's about embracing the ups and downs
The challenges, the triumphs,
and choosing to love your partner even when it's hard,
even when they're not perfect.
because that's what real love is.
It's about seeing beyond the flaws and choosing to love them anyway.
Beautifully said.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone.
That's right.
Resilient Couples Coaching is there to support you.
Every step of the way.
Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today.
My pleasure. Always happy to talk about relationships.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of relationships.
We hope you've been loving it.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights.
And remember, love is always worth the effort.
This has been The Deep Dive, brought to you by Resilient Couples Coaching, strengthening and deepening love with CBT and mindfulness.
We'll see you next time.
For more deep dives into the topics that matter most,
That's a wrap for this episode of Mastermind Conversations, a Pro Insights podcast powered by Geek in New York, where we don't just talk, we geek it. We hope you gain valuable insights, learn something new, and are ready to apply it in business and life. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and leave a review. It helps us bring you even more great content. Until next time, stay curious, keep learning, and always geek it.